name is Niki Bida. I'm the Suicide Prevention Coordinator at Jacob Crouch Suicide Prevention Services at the Family Tree. It's a long one.
So, can you tell me about the organization?
Yeah, of course. So the Family Tree offers many different services. We have four branches. So we have counseling services. We have our Healthy Start program, who helps new moms and dads, and that's in central Louisiana and Alexandria. We have our Tykes program, which goes into daycares to help them and make sure that they're going with state standards, and as well as a suicide prevention branch, which is what we do. So for suicide prevention, we do different trainings. We have a suicide prevention training called QPR, and that basically helps somebody have the skills to notice if someone's struggling and then use question, persuade, and refer to help them be safe. And then we also have an intervention skills training. That one's a lot more intense. It's called ASSIST. And it's worldwide, it's renowned, so it's really great. And then we have a support group for anybody who's lost someone to suicide too.
How important is it for families to get as much information as possible?
Oh, so important, right? Because especially when it comes to suicide loss, specifically talking about that point, somebody feels so alone, right? And as a society, we don't understand that suicide happens a lot more than we think, and there are others in the community that are going through a similar type of grief, because suicide grief is different than a loss to someone from cancer or somebody who was in a car accident. It is a little bit different, so there's elements to the grief such as feeling shame, because there is taboo. You can't talk about it really in society without somebody having certain judgments, viewing you in a certain way, because a lot of people are just not educated in it. So it is really important. It's also really important for people to just have training. QPR training is just 2 hours, so you learn a lot of different warning signs that maybe not everybody knows. And I think what deters a lot of people from asking somebody if they're thinking about suicide is because they're scared if the answer is yes, like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So that it's very, very important.
Yeah, I mean, everyone goes through different things, but is there any signs people could look out for if someone is, needs help?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very individualized, right? So
Yeah.
there's not just like, oh, if somebody's isolating themselves, then they're thinking about suicide. It's complex, but I would say some big ones that are more common that some people might know is if somebody's giving their prized possessions away, if they're making plans, if someone's talking about suicide too. Some people view that as, oh, maybe they're attention seeking. Oh, if they're talking about it, they're not serious. But most of the time they are serious, so we have to treat it as it is serious. Any talk of suicide, right? Because if we don't, then we might miss somebody who does die. One that's uncommon, one that is common that people don't really know about is when somebody has improvements in their moods. They might seem like they're happier, they're wanting to spend more time with you, when normally, like, their baseline, like, maybe that they do struggle with depression, or they're just different in that sense. So just a change in their baseline, typically you're going to know the person, whether it's a family member, a friend, a coworker, you're going to know how they usually behave. So if somebody's acting different and you kind of get that gut feeling, I always advocate to just ask, because what's the worst that can happen? They say no. But yeah, if somebody is improving, then that could be a sign that they've made a plan. And it's this way of, it's a feeling of relief for the person, where they can start to feel like, oh, like I am happy because my pain is going to end soon.
What inspired you to get into the mental health field?
Um, it's a great question. Specifically, I just have always wanted to help people. Ever since I was little, I feel like I was taking care of everybody around me. Always that friend, that family member. I really will do anything for anybody. But specifically suicide prevention, I have attempted before, so that definitely inspires me to um, share my knowledge with anybody who I can to help prevent suicide and make sure that more people don't die.
Yeah, actually saw in your email you have a line about 988. How
Mhm.
has that helped people?
Oh, absolutely. They recently just had their 2-year anniversary, which is really awesome. I think 988 is phenomenal because imagine like trying to remember an 800 number when you're thinking
Yeah.
about suicide. You already have so much in your head going on, where the last thing that you're going to remember is a long number. And the fact that you can call it or text it, I think especially for kids, and kids are at a significantly high risk. It is the second leading cause for kids. So the fact that they can text it, which kids are more comfortable texting, I think has really been beneficial. And I also like the concept that it's not just for suicide.
Yeah.
988 has this really cool way of thinking that the person who's calling defines what crisis means to them. So whether it is you're just having the worst day ever, you're not thinking about suicide, but it's the worst day ever, and you feel like you don't have anybody to talk to, and you can call 988. Um, Having that, I think, is such a preventative measure, right? So, like, if you do have that really great conversation with somebody, then you might not think about suicide. Whereas maybe if somebody was to go through the worst day of their life and they did have nobody and didn't contact anybody and didn't have a human to human connection, maybe down the line it could lead to that, right? And they're awesome. They're trained professionals. We have two in Louisiana. So typically, if you're calling in Louisiana, it'll go to one of the centers, and they have a database where they can refer you to various services that you might need, or if you just need somebody to listen to you, right? So it is so amazing that we have that right now, and they 988 uses a lot of data. They keep data, so they have seen it's definitely being utilized for sure, um, and and hopefully we start to see a decrease in suicides because right now we're at our highest peak.
The highest peak.
Yeah, yeah. So like, we just had our final I'm so sorry, final statistics out for 2022. So it takes a while for statistics to come out. There's a lot of like going back and forth, checking it, making sure that everything's correct. And even when they do that right with statistics, we know that there's
Mm.
things that are underreported. But in 2022, it was almost 50,000 people that died by suicide, and that was the highest it's been. In 2021, it was 48,000. 2018 was the highest, and then in 2022 we reached higher than that.
Do you see the stigma of just talking about suicide prevention lessening a little bit?
I think it really depends. Um, in my personal opinion, I think a lot more people are open to talking about it than they ever have been. In my experience, like going out in the field, and even like organizations reaching out to us. instead of like us trying to reach out to them and trying to get people to get interested and sharing how important it is. We are seeing more people reaching out to us now, and seeing that like we really do need to talk about it, and it has affected our community in Lafayette, Louisiana recently quite a lot, where I think it's opened people's eyes to be like, okay, yeah, we need to start doing something about it.
And you talked earlier about the with kids and younger people getting mental health information out there. How important is it to start at an early age to understand emotions and all that?
Oh my goodness. I think it's the most important thing that we can do with our children. Starting as young as possible, honestly. Having a child being able to express how they're feeling, before even like talking about and educating about suicide and suicide prevention. Just the need for children to be able to communicate how they're feeling, because a lot of households still don't have those conversations, right?
Yeah.
And those conversations are uh, sometimes, not always, but sometimes they're had in schools, depending on like teachers and the curriculum. But I do see it happening a lot more with, pretty sure the classes are called social emotional learning, where they have blocks and like they do teach kiddos, um, how do I express my feelings? What do I do with these feelings? Because for a kid, those feelings are really, really big,
Yeah.
and they do experience stress. How do I deal with that? Coping skills. And sometimes even adults don't have that. So, like, if adults in their life are not coping or aren't talking about how they're feeling, or acknowledging how they're feeling, then the child's not going to, right? Because they're shadowing what they see. It's their environment and whatnot, where it is so important in order to prevent declines in mental health in adulthood. Um, because talking about how we feel instead of keeping it in, I think, is a huge preventative measure to suicide.
And you do a lot to help others, but what do you do to help your own mental health?
Oh, Michael, you got to put me on a spot like that. Um, I'm working on it. Let's say that. I'm definitely working on it. It's hard. Um, it's so much easier to focus on other people, and keep busy that way and like forget about your own problems. Um, but I'm in therapy. I just started back again. Actually, today was my first appointment. So I think that that's really important, having somebody, a professional who's unbiased, right? Like if you're talking to your family member, they could be holding some bias. And don't get me wrong, it's so great to talk to a family member or a friend too, and there's benefits to that. But talking to a professional who doesn't really have any um, judgment, biases based off of like your relationship with this person, it's based off of um, what they're hearing, what you're feeling, and going off of that, I think is so important. And I really am happy that I had the time to find someone, because the process of finding a
Yeah.
therapist it also takes a while, and I can see how people would get frustrated and quit trying to find one. Um, and then I spent a lot of time with my dog. I have a dog. Pets are amazing for mental health, I believe.
I
But
agree.
what do you do for self-care?
Well, I do. I try to get more exercise in there. I'm not the best at that.
Mhm.
But also, I see a therapist, and it was challenging to see one in person but
Mhm.
uh, telehealth and all that, that has helped a lot in talking to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. It's been so amazing to see like so much progress, even though there's still a lot more work to do in the realm of mental health, like there is a lot of progress that's happening with accessibility and things like that for sure.
So, where do you want to see your organization's mission, say, in the next 3 to 5 years?
Hmm, 3 to 5 years. I mean, honestly, right now, we're doing amazing. We are training more people right now than we have in a bit because, I mean, COVID really affected us. We can't go present training to people, and it was more
Yeah.
online, where it's it's different doing it online than in person, right? You get a lot more out of it face to face than you will online. But right now in our community, we've trained the whole fire department. We've gotten into many different police departments. We've gone into a lot of different summer camps and trained kiddos this summer. We're in many different school systems. Like we're really going out there and doing the work, and we're also willing to travel. So yesterday we went to Alexandria. Next week we're going to be going to Baton Rouge, and um, I really just want to see us continue doing what we're doing, because we really are doing great, and I'm really proud of my team. I do think the one thing that I would like to see is um, with our support group, just knowing the statistics in the area that we're in, Lafayette, and knowing how many people have died by suicide each year because we get the coroner's report, and seeing that like in our support group there aren't many people in it, even though there has been a good amount of people in our community. So whether it's like they're not ready to come to support group, which I totally understand, support group isn't for everybody, or if it's because they don't know that there is a support group, because we are the only one in the area. I think that I would like to see more people utilizing it, being in a group where somebody else can relate to what you're going through, because suicide loss is unique. And having that person not feel alone, because I feel like there's many people in our community that do feel alone, that have experienced a suicide loss and don't know the resources that are available to them.
Yeah, with the trainings, do you see people's confidence level rise as they learn more and more?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, with QPR, it is only 2 hours, so it you definitely see the confidence increase, but it's
Yeah,
not as much as assist. So assist
right.
is 2 days, 8 hours each day. So we're really like, and it's intervention, right? So it's not just prevention, and talking about some skills. Like we're really doing the work with assist. We're doing a bunch of role plays. We're doing a lot of different scenarios. We're going through a framework that teaches you this is what you should do, going all the way to like safety planning and seeing how people in the beginning might be a little bit nervous and don't know what to expect. But by the end of it, you get so close with the group. Like it kind of feels like a little family by the end of it, which is like so beautiful. And I I haven't seen an assist where that doesn't happen. Um, and yeah, I wish more people had the time to do it because it is a lot to ask for somebody to have 2 days,
Yeah.
8 hours. Like it's hard with work, family. Like it is hard to get people to have a training. But when we do one, it's beautiful.